Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I just want to do this quick video in regards to a spiritual perspective on how to be your best friend during times of loneliness. I wanted to make this video now, especially because the holiday season is here and not everybody is in a good place in their life. And a lot of people do tend to suffer from depression or loneliness a little bit more during this time of year, especially if they don't have a ton of family or friends, or if they don't have loved ones. It's actually quite interesting that a lot of research has shown that people tend to not break up during the holiday season because they want that some form of comfort and joy, or at least not inflict any form of pain during this time of year where we're supposed to be thankful and grateful and connecting with our loved ones. So I want to make this video in regards to not only my own personal experience that I will share about moments of loneliness and moments of fulfillment, so it can help you on your path, or maybe it can help someone that you know that's kind of suffering from loneliness. But the one thing I will say is I think it is natural for humans to want to give and receive love. A lot of spiritual texts, especially the root of Christianity, it's all based on love. And people do tend to thrive when some form of love is in their life, and that does not necessarily always mean romantic, though that generally is the most form or type of love that we probably crave the most in our life. But you can still get a lot of fulfillment from your pets or from your parents, your peers, your friends, your siblings, and things like that. So throughout my life, I've had some of the most fulfilling moments in my life when I've been alone and been in moments of solitude. And a lot of times that happened during moments of traveling. Like when I was just walking or sitting on the beach in Australia, really trying to think deeply about life and the ocean and looking at the sun and the moon, I have never been so fulfilled in my whole entire life. I just got back 2.5, 3 weeks ago from walking the Camino de Santiago trail, the Portuguese way, and some of those moments of being absolutely alone triggered me that I was like, oh my God, I'm alone. And some of those moments were the most fulfilling minutes of my life because I connected to my soul, to God, to the nature around me, that I just felt fulfilled. So on the flip side, I am 13 months into a divorce or separation. I was with somebody for 9.5 years. The holiday season last year was pretty horrible. I did go home back to Cleveland during the holiday season for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I just felt so hollow and alone because my other half, pretty much the other soul that has was in my life, got disconnected from me. And so I just remember throughout the last year, I'm in a really good space now. Time heals. So if you are going through a really bad breakup or divorce, time heals. I'm in a good space now. But I remember certain points throughout 2018, more in the winter and probably more in the spring and early summer, there were stages of going through moments of loneliness, and that's really normal when you go through such a dramatic breakup like that, because you're used to having someone or something to care for in your life. And at least for me, I might not have been a perfect wife, but I'm a very nurturing human being. So even something like cooking a meal, I couldn't cook for like the first 3 to 4 months after that breakup because I had to relearn how to cook for one, or there was so much extra food that my ex-husband used to just eat all of it. He was kind of like the garbage disposal, and that part just became too lonely and depressing. So I kind of have experienced loneliness from positive and negative points of view, through times of moments of like awakening and rebirth, but also through times of shifting and some death processes in my life through like separation and divorce. So just some things that I want to talk about in terms of loneliness is that the first thing is that you can, during times of loneliness, become more intimate with God. I think this is a really good time to start connecting to your higher soul. Now, if you don't believe in God, that path of your evolution, if you do end up ever getting to a point of believing in God or a higher power, that is a step and a progression that will happen throughout your life that might not happen overnight. So during these times of loneliness, I feel like God is trying to show you something or some form of purpose in your life. And so one example is, this was a really weird divine experience that I had. The moment my ex-husband broke up with me, I started getting people subscribing to my blog and my newsletter. And that was really weird because I put so much energy and effort in for like a little over 2 years and nothing was cultivating. And it was like the moment that energetic line was cut in our soul, this whole other pathway of my own soul purpose and my soul mission started opening up. And it was the most bizarre thing I've ever experienced, because all of a sudden people were subscribing to my newsletters and I wasn't even doing anything. When my ex-husband broke up with me, the next day my laptop died and it was in the repair shop for 17 days and I couldn't even log into Facebook on my phone. I didn't want to go through that. So I sat in moments of loneliness for 17 days to think, and I didn't even write. I didn't write for like 2.5 months, and all of a sudden people kept coming in. So when you're in these moments of loneliness, I feel like God is trying to show you something, whether that's your soul purpose in your life or maybe some form of change that you need to go through to get to the next stage in your journey. There's something happening there, and so you kind of have to look through this and into this with a little bit of a scientific lens. So the other thing I want to talk about is that we learn more when we are in the valley. So we have peaks and valleys, and obviously when we come to the top of the mountain, we have a bird's eye view. We've accomplished these, great achievements in our life of conquering that mountain and overcoming our fears, and that's a really great thing. But when you're in the valley, when you feel stuck or depressed or down or lonely, or like you're just kind of swimming to stay afloat in the river, your river of emotions are taking you down places you don't know, that's the time when you're kind of in a little bit of a form of a darkness that you just need to start to look into this. Like, what's happening in your life? What's going on? There are lessons when your feet are on the ground and there's trees, mountains, clouds, birds, all of that above you. So the reality is, when you are in that valley, you're looking upward, and that is your moment of looking towards something higher than yourself. And generally, I would say God. It took me a long time to even get to use the word God. I would just say the universe or source and things like that. But I'm very comfortable in my life, in my spirituality, that, you know what? God's trying to show you something when you're down in that valley. So it's forcing you to look upward. And that's what is very interesting about kind of being in that valley type of atmosphere and space. During times of loneliness, this is the time to work on yourself. Something has to change. Even I thought I was doing a pretty good job as a wife. I wasn't perfect, but there were things I had to change. And you know what? My ex-husband brought, some stuff to the table and said, you didn't do this, that, and the other. Like, some of it was like, Jesus, it was too much. But honestly, when you can digest that emotional information in your brain and your heart, I at least was able to look in the mirror and be like, you know what? He was probably right, because I was not delegitimizing his, is that a word? I was taking his words and feelings seriously. And I think sometimes when you go through those type of experiences, you tend, especially women, we tend to not think that men have such sensitive emotions because they're supposed to be really alpha or really strong on the outside, when a lot of them are very sensitive and emotional on the inside. But this is the time for you to work on yourself. Are you sabotaging every relationship? Do you have a problem at every job that you go to? It's so easy to point the finger and start blaming other people without looking to yourself. So when you are alone, this is the time for change. This is when the learning lessons are going to begin in your life. And the final thing that I kind of want to touch on is that during times of loneliness, you have to find contentment with yourself, your soul, and with God. And these are the lessons that I learned a lot in traveling, that, you know, it's like outdoor travel and kind of wellness have always been integrated. And that's the amazing thing about something like the Camino, which is a path of suffrage, or just going, you know, to India to study yoga, or, you know, going to the beaches of Australia to try to find the meaning of life, is during these points in time, you have to be content with things that you have. It's okay to want to achieve more or to desire more, but the thing is, we're always trying to get to the next thing. You know, we want to be, I don't know, a better singer. We want to have a beautiful car. We want to upgrade from the Toyota to the Lexus type of thing, you know? And you just kind of have to start being content with what you have. And I think when you find that form of contentment, that form of manifestation in terms of abundance eventually comes. But when you start to look at your soul and to God, there is something that He's trying to teach you during this point in time. And when you can connect to yourself internally and fulfill yourself spiritually, whether that's through conversations with God or feeling better after a yoga class or a form of meditation, that's a really powerful place to be, because you are born alone and you will die alone. There will be people and support systems around you. I mean, especially when you're born, you're definitely dependent and supported by your mother, but eventually you're going to get out of the nest and be on your own. It just takes us like 18 years to do that in America. And the thing is, you have to understand is that when you're alone, that being alone is not a punishment at all. Some people choose to be alone. Some people choose to be alone because they like to be by themselves. Some people choose to be alone because they're so fearful of getting hurt or other things that they don't let other people in, and that's their own issues and problems that they have to work in, but it is not a punishment. This is a time of growth and reflection and admittance, and admitting certain things about your character or about yourself. That's completely, absolutely normal. I went to Burning Man in 2016, and I actually felt more alive and abundant when I was riding my bike by myself in the desert, which everybody thought that was weird because I wasn't hanging out with a bunch of other people, but I felt more alive with myself and with the earth and the planet and God than I did sometimes when I was with other people. So you have to kind of take some of these moments of solitude in a celebratory way. Like, there is something that's happening to you that will help you change and evolve, and it will help you appreciate the connections that you have with other people down the line. And so this is like interesting thing is, now that I'm kind of getting back to my roots into Christianity, a lot of, you know, Buddhism, he sat under the Bodhi tree by himself and got enlightened. You know, I think Allah was in a cave and got spiritually enlightened. So there's always these moments of solitude where these great spiritual leaders have been by themselves to get these like crazy revelations from God to be able to preach. I mean, Jesus walked by himself for 40 days in the desert and was tempted by Satan and things like that. So these are powerful lessons to learn, that from these spiritual texts, these moments of solitude can actually be great enhancements in our life, specifically for spiritual growth. But what I was coming full circle, getting back to a lot of the Christian roots, is that so many of these people have a fulfillment in God that they prioritize their family and loved ones, that they understand that the connection with other humans and the connection with love that you have, whether it's from a friend or love from a parent, those are really prized possessions that you can't take away in this life. Like, you can lose a car, your house can burn down, you can give away some clothes to Goodwill, but you can't take away that connection of human emotions and a soul connection that you have with other people. So I think when you can appreciate yourself and become your best friend during times of loneliness, your relationships with people will change and you won't take them as much for granted. So those are some thoughts I have, some spiritual perspectives on how to be your best friend during times of loneliness. I hope this helps. If you have any other suggestions for people, please comment below. Please subscribe to this channel. Help me build it if you can. And thank you so much for listening, and have a great day. Bye.